Hello, I'm Tristan Peterson. I did my Heritage Fair project on Louis Riel, the father of Manitoba. Louis Riel was born on the 22nd of October, 1844 in St. Boniface, Red River Settlement. Louis Riel's father was Louis Riel Sr. At a very young age, Louis Riel was recognized as a very good scholar. At 13, he was identified as a candidate for priesthood. He got a scholarship to Sculpion School in Montreal. While at the school, he acquired a love of poetry. Also engaged with Mary Julie Guernin. The engagement was called off, however, when her parents would not let her marry a Métis man. He then moved home to Red River Settlement. Here are some pictures of Louis Riel during his childhood. The Red River Rebellion. The Métis began rebelling against the Canadian government with Riel as their leader. They imprisoned Upper Fort Garry, and one of the men in it was a troublemaker, and Louis Riel's lawyer, Ambroise Demy-Lepine, sentenced Thomas Scott to death for his comments/actions against Riel. After his death, the Canadian government was outraged. They began sending armed patrols into the area. Riel and the Métis wrote many letters to Canadian government about getting their own land. Canadian government eventually agreed. The Métis were granted 1.4 million acres, 566,560 hectares. The Métis Act, the Manitoba Act, came into effect when the Métis had the province of Manitoba. Soon after, the government of Canada sent a military force under the command of Colonel Garnet Wolseley in the summer of 1870. When it became obvious the expedition was out to lynch Riel, he fled to the U.S. Here's a map of Canada and when all the provinces were made. Manitoba is very small, as you can see when it was first created. Louis Riel will come out of exile and fight for the people of the Plains Métis in the Northwest Rebellion. Louis Riel is asked by a group of Métis from where Saskatchewan would later be, and they asked him to come to Batuche to help them fight for their rights. Riel agreed, as long as his family could come and he could return home when everything was settled. Among the Métis was war leader Gabriel Demont. So in the summer of 1884, Riel and the family set off for Batuche and the main Métis settlement. When Riel arrived, he conducted peaceful speeches and wrote up petitions. The Métis were concerned that they did not have a permanent title to their land they farmed. They were also upset that their land had not been reached by the Canadian Pacific Railway. Here are a couple of pictures of Gabriel Demont. Riel's trial. Louis Riel turned himself in, and now he must face trial for treason. So John A. Macdonald wanted to charge Riel with high treason. The trial was meant to be held in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but was moved to Regina when the government found out that half of the jury was Métis. Only 1 out of 6 of the Regina jury spoke French. City officials, lawyers, reporters from around the world came and waited for hours outside the courtroom, willing to pay $10 to watch the biggest trial in Canadian history. The trial lasted 4 days. Riel's lawyers argued Riel was insane and seemed to have some justification. Riel, however, considered himself a prophet of God, sent to help his people, and insisted he was not insane. It took the jury only 4 hours to reach a guilty verdict, but did, however, ask the judge to show mercy and ignore the death penalty. August 3rd, 1885, the judge ignored their pleas for mercy and sentenced Riel to death. On November 16th, in Regina, Riel was hanged for treason. After Riel's death, many people believed he was a Métis hero. Here's a couple pictures of Riel's trial and his lawyers. Louis Riel's impact on Canada. Louis Riel had a huge impact on Canada and on the Métis people. He is known today as the father of Manitoba. He was the person who created Manitoba, the province for the Métis people. He and his Métis followers stood up for Métis rights and were granted a province. Riel also made Canadians realize that Métis and Indigenous people had rights too. Years ago, Riel was a hated man because of his actions against the government, and now he is remembered as a hero to many people, not just Métis. Riel is remembered as a Métis hero and a Canadian icon. The reason I chose Louis Riel for my Heritage Fair project is that I had read a book about him but I didn't learn a whole bunch, and I thought I wanted to learn more, so I chose Louis Riel for my Heritage Fair project and really enjoyed him. I hope you enjoyed my Heritage Fair project. Bye-bye.